Hi, lovelies. Lisa here, and it is day 26 in my tower month. And today I found myself coming back to, after all this talk over the past number of days of structure and building and the human sort of oomph and energy to create and the ways in which we create these rigid structures, which then, uh, you know, inevitably collapse because anything we build and we concretize, and whether it's a set of ideas, an institution, or an actual building, inevitably entropy will occur. It will fall, it will crumble, it will get struck by lightning, it will burn up in a towering inferno of craziness, right? But where this month started was with the card from Kim Kranz's Wild Unknown that I originally pulled, which isn't of a human structure at all. It's um, it's this, right? It's a tree. It's a tree, and now in 2019, the imagery of the tree being struck by lightning does actually evoke a kind of man-made disaster and man-made calamity. I mean, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Well, in lots of places in the world, where climate disruption has created crazy weather. We had thunderstorms here in Oregon today. Uh, Thunderstorms in the summer. I grew up in Chicago and the Midwest, and where thunderstorms in the summer was normal. But that's not really what you expect in the summer in Oregon. And certainly, wildfires have. I mean, we now talk about there being smoke season. There's summer, there's winter, there's rain, there's smoke. It's a whole separate season because there's so many natural disasters, there's so many fires owing to climate change. So, in a 2019 setting, even though this card has no human agency in it, it does kind of evoke the destruction that human actions have created, has created, right? Insofar as our forests are burning down due to extreme weather, uh, due to human created climate change. So that's a thing. And yet, this image also evokes just a much older representation of the 16th Trump. And, I'm remembering this deck that I shared with you guys at the beginning of the month, I think, 1650, something like that, the Jacques Vieille um, Tarot de Marseille style. Um, Look, it's a sun with a creepy child on horseback. See, Pixie didn't invent this imagery. It's there. Um, it's there in the historical record. By the way, I love this deck. I love it. It just charms me, with like naked Jesus guy in the middle of the world, and the color palette and the sort of offset. Look at that Hierophant, the offset printing, and I love it. I love this Empress. But here we have, one of the early variants of the Tower. Gorgeous card, right? And here the tree isn't even burning down, or it's not clear that it's burning down. There doesn't seem to be any source of fire. So what's the deal with the tree, and how do we get from the tree in those early images to, later Marseille style decks with actual towers and people falling out of the towers? And what's this sun doing here? This seems to me like this is the sun is the eye of God. In the Crowley Harris system, the tower will have that all-seeing eye. That's an incredible card, isn't it? Yeah. The Crowley Harris, I mean, the Thoth, Toth, however you want to say it, that deck. Oh my God. I mean, just, oh my God. Lady Frida's artwork. Genius. But anyway, I know some of you do not agree, but um, that's why it's so nice to have a community, because we all have different ideas, and then we come together and we share our ideas, and how rich is that? Anyway, I think freaking genius. Um, Yeah, I gotta dive into this deck. I've got to really, really dive into this deck. So, um, more to come on that front. But anyway, this original iconography, right? Um, yeah, how do we get from a tree, you know, bathed in the light and eye of God to, you know, to a tower? And I think, in a Christian culture, you can't help but see a tree and think about the tree, tree of the knowledge of the difference between good and evil, the tree of knowledge that we were not supposed to eat in the Garden of Eden. And what does it mean to be human, other than to look up? Like, there's something so distinct about us being bipeds, right? I think about this all the time about our posture. And as a student of Zen, where there's such a focus on sitting upright, on our Zen posture, as we meditate, I think about that upright posture as being this thing that's so uniquely human. Like we at some point way back in the backety back of evolutionary time, we like got up from all fours on our hind legs, stood up, looked up, reached up, and our body adjusted accordingly, and now we have these spines and these pelvises and these shoulders and bellies that support standing upright, and when we meditate in kind of a zen, in the Zen school at least, there's that emphasis on just having our human upright form. It's a form of reaching up, of vulnerability, right? you know being bipeds and standing up on our hind legs, sitting up, um, all of our tender bits are exposed, right? All the stuff that's off screen. Our hearts, our bellies, our genitals, it's all out there. So, this being a biped means we're out there, we're exposed, and we're out there and exposed because we are reaching up, looking up to the heavens, looking up to God. It's a stance. This card embodies that stance of reaching up, of opening up, um, of a certain kind of striving, right? The tower is the card that's about our human striving. And, how fucked up that can get, right? How fucked up that can get. And also, I think it's a card that embeds in it this, and this is the part that I think we need to work against. It's a card that also embeds within it what I think is a fantasy, a negative fantasy of this God figure who will punish us for our presumption. The card embeds within it this idea that once we reach up, we will fall because we've been bad, right? God's looking out and he's meting out judgment. We have disobeyed. We have, to take the biblical narrative, we have eaten of the forbidden fruit and now we must fall. But we don't fall as punishment. We fall because that's how growth works. That's how mortality works. That's how time works. That's how life works. So the other deck, totally different deck that I was thinking about today, is the Tildwick Tarot, which is a deck that is all about human structures. There's no humans in this deck. If Kim Kranz's Wild Unknown deck has no humans in it and only nature, the Tildwick Tarot has no humans in it because it only has human architecture, the things that humans have built. It's a deck that sort of imagines us in a stately English manner. Right, in the stately English manner. And each card and this deck really, it really pushes it. It really pushes, I can't even see what's upside down and right side up. It really pushes legibility. This card is almost impossible to read. It's picturing us in this kind of English manner. Sorry, in this English manner, and all of the cards have this feeling of, you know, um, a palimpsest. A palimpsest is, it's like that kind of text where one text is written on another text, so there's kind of a layering. And this too, it's like, it all has this feeling of like layers of worn out worn out wallpaper. It's a fascinating deck, almost impossible to read. um, I don't think that's a design flaw, although it might be. I don't know. The artist is now dead, so I can't ask him. It's beautiful. I mean, I love this. I love this backing. The gilding's really pretty. The colors are amazing. Um, so it's like we're walking through this stately mansion, and the mansion is really old. And like so many English mansions, maybe it was built in the early modern period in the 1500s, and then, renovated over the years, and, rooms walled off and other rooms broken out, and, you know, painted and wallpapered and replastered, and, this set of furniture and this set of portraits. It's like, these homes that have been homes for generation after generation after generation. And so they have a life of their own that humans come in to inhabit. And here's the tower. And the tower is, these are kind of historical, I don't know if I can get in focus. It looks like sort of historical figures, like, like here is a kind of, these bottom ones are like sort of Roman or Greek shields, masks. There's sort of, it feels like the layers of civilization are depicted in these different um, sort of busts and masks that are inset in the sides of this mirror. And in the mirror, which is cracked, there's a picture of what I assume is the Tower of Babel. Um, and all this is, on a kind of 19th century delicate little end table with this compass painted on the floor, like we're in, a library or something, or a map room, or I don't know where, but this is the tower. And to me, what this bespeaks is the way that, human life is about these successive layers of structure. It's like one structure gets sort of broken down, and we build right back on that foundation. We build something new, and then that breaks down. And it's like we never, the past is always there. It's kind of what the whole deck is about. Like the past in this manor house is there in the walls. Layer after layer, like a palimpsest, and we can keep reading the past in the present. So I feel like what I'm tuning into today is the way in which, our human lives really are about, not about freeing ourselves from structures, not about getting back to a more natural or authentic way of being, not about transcending the form of life that we inhabit right now, but just about recognizing that we build each new life, each successive moment on the ruins of the last. My friends, that's karma. We don't ever start over with a clean slate. We start over with who we are. And I thought about this so much today as my life is shifting and changing. I taught the last class I have an 8-week course that I teach, and today was the last class in this particular 8-week course. And I've decided to take a 6-month break from teaching this particular course, and then maybe rebooting it in a different setting, under slightly different circumstances in January. And I was thinking, as I was saying goodbye to this set of students, how much I love them. And then also how much I'm, glad to be entering a new phase and doing new stuff. And so it really was that, endings and beginnings all wrapped together. But the point is, it's never a blank slate. We're always building anew on the rubbles of the old. And that's what it is to be human, right? You just keep reaching up, building up, starting over, you know? Yeah. So may we continue to start over and rebuild. May we not worry so much about the rubble that's around us. May we take really good care of ourselves and of each other. As always, I'm so grateful that you're here, 15 minutes and 28 seconds into my ramble. And I thank you so much for your practice.